What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You don't know what that order is, Mr. Trash. I'd show you, but I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too fucking blind. If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we've said it once, we've said it twice, we've said it a million times. The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim. Get off my lawn. The mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. Oh, it's the threat to democracy. It's always the Republicans. Well, when Joe Biden drops out of the 2024 presidential election and 14 million Democrats have already voted him in, and you now have this letter from Biden saying he is out of the race, that is the ultimate threat to democracy. Why? Because you're no longer going to go by the will of the people. You're no longer going to go by the rule of the land. You are going to potentially have an open convention. Biden, in his letter, in his bombshell letter, did not sit there and actually endorse Kamala Harris. So the liberals are always blaming Trump as a threat to democracy. It's a threat to democracy. Well, this to me seems like an actual threat to democracy. Those that do not know, Joe Biden has officially dropped out of the race. He posted a letter on Twitter about 15, 20 minutes ago. And the letter reads, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation." Well, not really. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. You know, you can tell that he still has dementia. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug prices for seniors and expanding affordable health care to a number of Americans, really, because I need to have a procedure and some reason it's not covered. We provided critical needs and care for millions of veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, and appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. Yes, because we in this nation, we go by diversity, equity, and inclusion. We saw how well that worked out for the Secret Service. And passed some of the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been in a better position to lead where we are. Wow, this poor guy, he really does need some help. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together we overcome once in a century pandemic, not because of you, but that's all right, and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We protected and preserved our democracy, and we revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. Wow, this guy, I love it. This guy makes Superman look like a pussy. It's also been the greatest honor of my life to serve as president. So while it's been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and solely focus on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week. You should speak to them tonight, idiot, and detail about my decisions. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude for all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith that you have trusted and have placed in me. I believe today I will have, and there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. You are the biggest divisive person there is, but yeah, okay. Just remember, we are the United States of America. Oh, dear Lord. You know, last weekend you had the attempted assassination of President Trump. This weekend you have the dropping out of Joe Biden. And it had to be done this weekend because the ballots for Vegas are actually due on Friday. So it had to be this weekend. So now everything's up in a tizzy because he has not come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. There is no direct correlation about what's going on or who's going to be the person that's going to come out and lead this direction and lead us into the next adventure for the Democratic Party. I mean, My question about this is this. If he's not fit to run for another 4 years, how is he fit to lead this country? He said multitudes of times, the only way that I would step aside as if my doctors came out and said there was something physically wrong with me or some ailment that would preclude me from doing this. Okay, so is that still the case, or was that just bullshit? Or were you just being a bullshitter? Because if that's the case, if you can't run for re-election, how the hell are you going to be able to run the country till November? They're talking about eligible candidates right now of Kamala Harris, Governor Gavin Newsom, and Gretchen Whitmer. All three of them I'm not even afraid of. But it's weird though, because in order to become a candidate, someone must receive signatures from at least 300 delegates. So at a convention, a delegate can vote for their conscience. They can go against the will of the people in their state and vote with their conscience. So I think that's going to be it's going to be real interesting coming up for this Democratic convention. I mean, I don't know where you go. You even have some idiots floating Pete Buttigieg. What has Pete done besides screw up everything that he's ever touched? Same thing with Harris. Same thing with Whitmer. Same thing with Gavin. I want Gavin Newsom to run because I want Trump to use the shit chart. I want him to pull out the old shit chart and say, "Hey, you remember this from your debate with the governor of Florida? Remember that? You remember the Ron DeSantis debate? Here we go. Here's the shit chart. Now let's expand this over the entire country." It's just we've come to a point in the last 2 weeks where it's just I don't know how to describe this. I mean, politically, we knew when he got elected that it was totally the wrong way. It is totally the wrong way. Oh, now I'm seeing that Biden has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. We see that this news is breaking left and right. It's all over the place. So it has come out that he has endorsed Kamala Harris. But is that going to be the will of the party? Because at this moment in time, it is going to be whom these delegates select. And is it going to be part of the fact that, is it going to be the majority? I mean, Kamala Harris had a call with the donors on Friday, which everyone thought was weird. And the donors right now pretty much are the ones, the Democratic donors, the liberal donors right now, to me, are the ones that are running the Democratic Party. Because without that cash, there is a $250 million war chest that will have to be basically returned if they do not go with Kamala Harris. And we all know Democrats, they're very big on the money. They're very big on the cash. So it's just kind of weird that, and then the question's going to be, what about the vice president? How are we going to go through the selection of the vice president? Because the vice president we have no contender. We have no Democratic ticket. This is all because of the Democratic revolt after that disastrous debate. Let's all just be honest. It's just on that alone, and the fact that he has had more issues and he's had more problems physically and mentally over the last, 3.5 years. But when you hide a candidate in the basement and run a shadow campaign like they did 3.5 years ago, for a person that even back then did not have the mental acuity to be president, there's something wrong with our democracy. There's something wrong with the fact that the Democrats like to sit there and pontificate about how the Republicans are going to be the death of democracy. Well, they're doing everything, the Democrats, that a banana republic would do. They installed a figurehead. They installed a puppet as president for 3.5 years. And then they turn around, and now that he's opting out, are they going to install Kamala Harris, who is more let's be honest. There's not much up there in the Kamala Harris dome. There's a lot of dust bunnies floating around. We think that Joe Biden is long-winded and I don't even know what and can't complete a sentence and can't finish a direction in reference to his thoughts and his conversations. She's even worse. And she has this tendency of talking to people literally like they are 3-year-olds. And even 3-year-olds can't stand her. But like I said, there is tons of legal constraints right now that would preclude the Democrats from running anyone else but Kamala Harris. And like I said, the first thing we got to talk about is the election war chest. That would have to go back. If you picked another candidate, that's got to go back. There is a mutiny. There is an issue. When you have Nancy Pelosi and both Chuck Schumer warning about Biden's bleak polling and how he should drop out of the race, when Obama's basically said he should drop out of the race, we have reached a point in the nation where we have to make a step. We have to take a direction. We have to figure this out. And while I don't think that the election was stolen from Trump last year, I do think there was some anomalies in the election itself that have to be looked at. And this mail-in voting is definitely one of them. We're not going to be able to fix it now, but I have a problem with, I live in the great state of Pennsylvania. And at one point in time, Trump was up like 26,000 votes. And the polling that's closed, 95% of all the districts had reported in. And then for some weird reason, 36,000 votes were found all for Biden. And the reason I point out is weird. I have a friend that is a professor. He's a mathematician over at Penn. And he mentioned to me, he says, Tim, the statistical anomaly of that happening is almost impossible. That you would find 30,000+ votes and not one of them would be for Trump. And I asked him, I said, well, I don't know. It sounds like it's possible to me. He says it's not plausible. The human error alone would account for 2%. And reference to people going down ballot on their votes. And he goes, and then you have to add another 2.5% for the people counting the votes. At least, no, not 2. He said 1.5%. You have to add another 1.5%. So he goes, by math. And I always love it.
That's not the way you're supposed to do it, Dad. They want us to do it this
I don't
way.
know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
Math is math. And he even said you cannot get around that this is a statistical anomaly. That not one vote, even by error, went to Trump. That was like in the great city of Philadelphia during Obama's last election. Almost, I think at one point in time, every single vote in the city of Philadelphia went to Obama. And even again, he's like, that's a statistical anomaly. He goes, you have to count in the human error. At least one person would accidentally push the wrong button. There is no way this would be perfect by the amount of ballots casted and the amount of ballots counted, because you have to take into the fact of human error. I'm not saying anything, but I am just throwing that out there. So, do I think our democracy is at stake right now? Yes. Because Lord knows, because the Democrats aren't about making your life better. They are about staying in power. They are about making as much money, not all of them, a good portion of them, making as much money as you possibly can, because it's amazing that Nancy Pelosi's husband and Nancy Pelosi has never made a bad stock trade, making as much money as humanly possible to take care of themselves. And I'm not saying the Republicans are not into money into this, but if you take a look at the long side of it, Democrats have always been the one they always talk about and preach about being the party of the people. But the problem is this, they never really say what they mean and mean what they say. Because there's always it's like the Affordable Care Act. It's all about the Affordable Care Act. It's all about making healthcare more affordable for everyone. Well, but we're going to sneak in the student loan thing, and we're going to control the student loan market, and we're going to knock out a private industry. And then we're going to be able to control all the debt, bring in all that money, all that resources for the government. Then at some point in time, use it as a political pawn to buy votes in an election. It's the same thing with electric cars. It's the same thing with climate change. So I always think to myself when you hear a Democrat talk, what is the bottom line? What is the backdoor issue going to be? Because there's always the backdoor issue. There's always something they are going to, and there's a portion of the population that is not that intelligent because they see that shiny object. They're like a cat, like, ooh, what's this shiny object? Democrats put it in front of their face, and as they're watching the shiny object, they're going in and reaching behind you and taking all the money out of your pocket. Just look at the Trump tax cuts, which are set to expire in 2025. Which, if they do, watch your checks go down. Oh, this is going to be fun the next couple days, so make sure you stay tuned. And we've said it once, we said it twice, we said it a million times. The truth show is free. This is Tim. Let's get off my lawn. The mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. And I'm out here.
You don't know what that all is, Mr. Trash. I'd show you, but I'm too old. I'm too tired. I'm too fucking blind. If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.